my message to them is just, like the magical thing that they think they are waiting for, they probably already have. And so the only way they'll find out if they, actually do have it or not, uh is to dive in and do it.
All right. Good morning. Great to be together again. Excited to spend time with Brandon Calloway, who I first met probably a yearish or so ago. Brandon, you were
Yeah, I think
just
so.
really getting things kicked off with your organization, which was really exciting. And now you've got a year of road miles on you, and so it'll be exciting to catch up on that. But I really want to go back to even earlier and just talk about some of your early experiences and career journey, and what inspired you and who inspired you to go into this path of entrepreneurship and the things you're doing today.
Yeah, yeah. The man. I mean, uh, I mean, my my journey is long. I was talking the other day to somebody, and it was like, share a interesting fact about yourself. And my interesting fact was that, I'm 31 years old, and uh, I've had 40 jobs in my lifetime. So so if we want to go far back, it would take way too long. But uh, I'm from Kansas City. I've done a little bit. Graduated from Paseo High School. I was in the Army for a little while. Uh, I have an exercise physiology degree from Avila. I have a 10-year career in fitness, which is where I started. I was had my own fitness business. I ran my own personal training business. I worked at big gyms. I've ran gyms. Uh, and then, you know, I tell people, and I think everybody knows that it's true, that no matter what you do, or no matter who you ask about, why it is that they do whatever it is they do, they say that I'm doing this thing to make the world a better place, or to help people. So if you ask your pizza delivery guy, why do you deliver pizzas? He might say, oh, when I bring that food to that family and that smile on their face, it just makes their night better. Like everybody says that what they're doing is to better the world, and I truly believe that. And so when I got into fitness, I got into that because I wanted to change lives, right? I wanted to make people healthier. I wanted to specifically get people to college. I was a high school strength and conditioning coach. One of my first of those 40 jobs, I think it was either three or four, was when I was a year out of high school. I was a high school strength and conditioning coach. And so I was 19 years old and coaching 18-year olds. I had the beard then, so I could pass for a little bit older, so they wouldn't try me. uh, but that was what I was doing. That was my career path, was fitness, and really trying to make a difference in the world. In this specific way, in helping kids from lower income communities, who went to the type of high schools that I went to, get to college through sports, so get some kind of college scholarship. I reached a point in fitness where my last fitness job was where I was running gym. I was running this small little gym, doing all of the sales, the business to business partnerships and stuff like that. And I reached a point where I was really just making money. I wasn't changing anybody's life. I was making money for the owner of the gym, and so I was making his life better. But other than that, I wasn't having the type of impact that I wanted to have on the world. And uh, so it took a big leap of faith, jumped out of the fitness industry and into the nonprofit world, because I knew that my skills in sales and just the in relationship building could potentially transfer over to the nonprofit fundraising sector somewhat well. And so I ended up at United Way and doing donor engagement there. And it turned out that that hypothesis was somewhat true. I did a decent job at donor engagement over at United Way. Uh, and then I got the opportunity to do gift. And so if you for those of you that don't know, Gift is generating income for tomorrow. So it's a nonprofit that I co-founded and run, currently CEO of it. And we raise money, we give out grants to Black-owned businesses that operate on the east side of Troost. And um, at the time, so there were a few things all kind of happened that made it kind of just, I don't know, it seemed like it was predestined for it to just happen at the time that it did. I'm in a Facebook group called BOBKC, and in that group, so it's Black-owned businesses Kansas City, and there was a young man in the group named Chris Stewart. He's from Kansas City, lives in Houston now, and he just made a post talking about, every time he comes back to Kansas City, he doesn't see the number of Black businesses that he feels like he should see in Black communities. And it was frustrating to him. It was really frustrating to him. And his point was, if we all put in $10 a month, we could take that money. It was 15,000 people, so it was $150,000 a month, 1.8 million a year. Take that money and strategically invest it into Black-owned businesses and Black communities ourselves. So we wouldn't have to wait for other organizations that constantly say they want to invest in the urban core to come in and do it. We could just do it, without asking for permission. And so at that time, I didn't know Chris. I didn't know Chris at all. But I had also, we're doing a lot of racial equity work at United Way, and I started reading the book by Ta-Nehisi Coates. So we were 8 years in power. So I don't know if you guys know who Ta-Nehisi Coates is. He's a writer that often writes about racial equity. But in his book, he referenced Michelle Obama's book, where she talked about growing up on the south side of Chicago. And growing up on the south side of Chicago, where everybody around her was Black, like it was the predominantly Black areas of Chicago. People looked like her. She was comfortable in just being who she was. And then eventually hitting the point where she had a decision to make. She could be comfortable on the south side of Chicago, or she could be economically successful. She could be successful in life, which means going outside of this comfortable area that she grew up in, where everybody looks like her, into the rest of the world, where all of the financial opportunities are, because those financial opportunities are not in predominantly Black neighborhoods. And it meant entering in a world where she was never allowed to forget that she was Black. And that was the heaviest part of that book for me, because here in Kansas City, if you guys are from Kansas City, if you've grown up here, if you've been here for a while, you know that exists here. So Troost is, our dividing line. And so you could, and I grew up on the east side. I grew up on the east side of Kansas City. But I also, in my career in fitness, I've always worked in, Lenexa or Lee Summit or Overland Park or Olathe, because that's where the financial opportunity is. And so, after that, I have been sitting and asking myself that question: why is it that we couldn't bring that same type of economic potential and economic opportunity to these people that live in this predominantly Black area, the historically redlined area that was specifically designed to be that way for them, that's specifically designed to take all of the economic opportunity out of that area. And so I had been constantly thinking about that. And then Chris made this post. And so I reached out to Chris and said, hey, I don't know you don't know me, but I have a particular skill set, I think, that can get this thing up, going, and moving. And one of his friends, Cornell Gorman, reached out to him too and said the same thing. And Chris got the three of us together, and we created Gift. And so, you know, we're, like I said, we're an organization that raises money and gives grants to Black-owned businesses on the east side of Truce. We are specifically focused on that area because it is the historically redlined area of Truce where Black poverty to this day is still most concentrated. Um, the goal is that we give grants to businesses over there, help them grow so that they may create jobs for the people that live in that area. So we're not, we're doing intentional economic development for the people that are there. And so are really being intentional about doing economic development without displacement. Because you know, it's different than putting a 10 million, $20 million project in that area that brings in a lot of outside investors, outside people, um, and, and then starts to price out the people that actually live there, forcing them to move out. So that is what we do. We give out grants in the amounts of 10,000, 20,000, 25,000, and $50,000. You know, during Chris made his Facebook post April 30th of 2020, so we were right in the middle of right at the beginning of a global pandemic. You know, not I think we were a month into all of the shutdowns, and so we started this up like May 5th. So it took us a week to really hash it out, talk about the program, and get all the paper and just get the paperwork filed and get it up and going. And then in that first month of May, I actually cold called. I just cold called a bunch of random Black-owned businesses and said, "Hey, what's your growth plan? What is your specific need that you have to grow? How many jobs could you create if you were able to grow? How much money would it take for you to do that?" And so out of all of the data that I gathered, you know, that's how we came up with the 10, 25, and $50,000. But I also asked, other than money, what do you need? And I think 75, no, 80% of everybody said accounting, 70% said marketing. A few people said some legal services as well. And so we actually built into our program 12 months worth of technical assistance. And so not only do we give these businesses a grant, we pay for accounting for them for 12 months so that their books can be undeniably clean. We pay for a business coach for 12 months. We pay for a marketing consultant to get them, you know, website design, literally whatever, anything that they need, some marketing strategy. And then we're partnered with Hush Blackwell, and Hush Blackwell takes them on as pro bono legal counsel. So so any of their legal needs for their business, Hush Blackwell takes care of. And so that is that's really our program. And so we took that idea of if 15,000 people, you know, donated $10 a month out of that Facebook group, and we took it to the community at large, and they responded to us well. We also were in the interesting position that, you know, like I said, we filed our paperwork May 5th. 2 weeks after that, the story came out about Ahmaud Arbery being shot. And then the Breonna Taylor story came out, and then George Floyd was killed. And so right when we started, you know, this whole program talking about the racial wealth gap, the whole country started talking about the racial wealth gap. And so our message was amplified because of the situations that just the conversations that were happening around the country. And so we were able to tap into some really social media influencers, some small businesses here in Kansas City that amplified our message, and we were able to raise money over the course of that summer. And so we had So in August of 2020, we had $11,000, and we gave $10,000 to Ruby Jeans to help them recover from some of the economic impact that they suffer from of the pandemic. So I specifically told we have a 9-person board. I specifically told my board and my co-founders that I do not want to spend 12 months raising money. I don't want to spend a full year raising money before we start, giving out grants and actually, have an impact. Because that's what everybody does. Like a lot of organizations will do that. A lot of nonprofits, will come up with this program, this idea, this potential solution, and then spend 1 to 5 years raising money for it, and then people have forgotten about them and forgotten about their impact and what it was they were trying to do. And the people that we were trying to help, the people that I had called, spent the whole month of May calling. Like their plans were for now, not for 1 to 2 to 5 years from now. And so I was really strong about, I do not want to spend X amount of time raising money and kind of letting the community, feeling like the community, uh, feeling like we let the community down. And so it was important to me to show people that we really were about what we said we were about. And so we and Ruby Jeans was in a situation where they really needed they really needed some financial assistance. And so we ended up, like I said, we had $11,000. We gave them 10,000 of it. And then the shorter version is, when we ended our fiscal year goes from May to April. Obviously, we started in May, so that's when our fiscal year started. So our fiscal year goes from May to April. And so by the end of April 2021, we had raised 443,000. Over 230 came from just individual people signing up to give $10 a month. We have people who donate $5 a month, people who donate $500 a month. We have people who make one-time donations of $10, one-time donations of $1,000. And so, we have over 2,000 donors, 2,000 individual donors. And so because of that, because of our strong individual donor base, because of us being able to amplify our message the way that we have been able to, we were also able to leverage that to get a little bit of corporate support. So we got around $16,000 from like 8 to 12 different corporations. And then we got a couple of sizable grants. So we got a $40,000 grant from Urban Action Partners, $100,000 from the Hadley Project. They're relatively new, but $100,000 grant from the Hadley Project, and then some smaller $10,000 and $5,000 grants from a few other foundations around the city. They got us to that 443,000. And so we just put out our annual report back in June, and we gave out $227,000 from in our first fiscal year, so May 2020, April 2021. So we spent another $13,000 on technical assistance. We were able to give grants so that was spread across 14 different businesses. We track job growth, and so we were able to create 22 jobs off that 227,000. We were able to save an additional 7 jobs off of that. We are still seeing residual growth from that, and so we're expecting to see another 6 to 8 jobs pop up by the end of this calendar year, just off that 227,000. And then we also we have a few requirements of the businesses that we give grants to. One of those requirements is that they send us quarterly financial reports, so that we can look at their revenue growth quarter over quarter. And so in comparing their first quarter, their quarter before getting a grant from Gift, to their most recent quarter of in June, we saw an average growth of 174% revenue growth. So average among all 14 of those businesses. And so now we're in year 2. We are doing 2 grants a month. So we realized that the $10,000 grant was really more of a startup grant. And so we do a $10,000 grant every month. We're doing 4 50s and 8 25s. And so every quarter we'll do one $50,000 grant, 2 25s, and 3 10s. So I can get long-winded and go and go and go, but I'll stop there because I know that there are probably some questions about what we do and why.
We gotta just stop and say, in the middle of a pandemic, to raise $440,000 and create jobs, I mean, that's worth applause, man.
Thanks.
That is incredible. When businesses all around the globe are struggling and you're creating maximum impact, you're not sitting back and saying we can't do anything. You're doing something awesome. That's incredible. And it wasn't in the easiest of times.
Yeah.
And if you think about, and I was listening to you tell that story, you got some big leaps of faith that you've taken in your own life, to just say, hey, I'm going to change from fitness to United Way, which is totally different. And now I'm going to go start a charitable organization from scratch. Those are big leaps of faith and courage to do bold things. And really one of the biggest things I know in my experience that holds people back from entrepreneurial growth or innovation or ideas is fear and combating fear. How are you taking your courageous experiences and helping coach and mentor entrepreneurs to go be courageous themselves?
Yeah. So I I don't so I don't see myself as I'm not that special, right? Like I had an idea and I did it, but it's not. I mean, when I was doing it, I was scared. Yes, I had some doubts in myself, and I was willing to fail. We've been willing to fail this whole time, and I thought it might work, but I knew I might be wrong, and so I was just willing to be wrong, and I also I've been in like 40 jobs, right? So I've been in a lot of different positions where I've been led to believe that my belief in myself was unfounded, right? Like that I was not as good as I may have thought that I was, uh, and and so when I'm talking to other people who are talking about applying for grants from us or talking about starting their own business, I mean my message to them is just like the magical thing that they think they are waiting for, they probably already have, and so the only way they'll find out if they actually do have it or not, is to dive in and do it. And I don't actively I don't actively seek out opportunities to go and speak to people and try to motivate people, because I I don't I don't want to say I don't feel like I have the right to, uh, but I don't feel like I've done anything spectacular. I don't feel like I've done anything spectacular. And so if I'm if I have the opportunity to speak to people about that, then yeah, sure, I will. I share everything that I can with them, and we go to work for our businesses as well. So like I will make as many connections as possible for our business owners, but I don't actively seek out those opportunities to go and say, hey, here's how great I am, you could be me too.
I think you're more special than you realize. If we go talk to these folks you're impacted, I bet we find out. Why don't we go here to Andre, let him ask a question.
I always have questions, you know that, Randy.
Yeah.
So So first of all, Brandon, I remember. First of all, I'm proud of you. I remember
Thank you.
You reaching out to me when you were just launching this idea, right? We had this conversation. So mentorship's not about look at me, let me coach you. Mentorship's just being available. That's really what it is, right? And so what you will find is any opportunity for people to reach out to you and ask questions, I would tell you be available for that. You know, the thing that I would want to know, and maybe you're getting to that point as you start to scale this nonprofit, right? And you have these businesses that you're helping, what kind of conversation are you having with them about once they become stable and they're better funded, coming back into gift and make sure they're supporting financially, right? Because you were able to help them get a leg up and get stable and do all these things. How are they becoming getting in the position to be able to pay it forward, right? That's part of this whole ecosystem of entrepreneurship, making sure that when they get better financial, better footing, that they're able to come to you and say, what are the other businesses that have a need, and how do I help that need, right? Because if you're producing money for them to be able to hire people, retain people, keep stable, all those, there has to be another conversation about what are you willing to do, because we're willing to step in for you. Who are you willing to step up for?
Yeah, and that's a great question. That's a question we get a lot, and it's something that me and my board have sat and talked about. How. So one, there was an idea of like, do we make it a requirement for the businesses once they hit a certain point or after a certain milestone, for whether that be time or success, for them to put money back into gift. And what we came to was no. So not making that a requirement. They're encouraged. They're encouraged to do that, but we don't make it a requirement. We are working on getting all of our businesses together so that they can network and do this like a blanking on the word that I want to use, but use each other's services. So that we have a network of our grant recipients that are actively helping each other grow. But one of my viewpoints is that when it and I could be putting too much of a burden on our team, but this is the way we kind of went with it. But for so long, that disinvestment in urban communities was or is highly intentional and ever present. And so I see that as our job, right? So it's our job to continue to cultivate dollars, continue to grow the organization, so that we can help these businesses grow without. I don't want it to be a quid pro quo thing, right? Like where we help you, so we expect you, or you have to turn around and put money back into us. It's our job to make sure that we are continually growing, that we have a diverse revenue stream, and that we're sustainable. Whether whether the businesses that we give grants to turn around and put money back into it or not. And really, I am sad, like their payoff to gift is constantly growing and making positive community impact. The better they do, the better we look, and their success metrics turns into, just honestly and realistically, their success metrics turns into money for gift. the more jobs they create, the more we can talk about that, and the more I can leverage their success for potential dollars from us. So no, and even though we haven't made it a mandatory thing, we have seen a lot of our businesses begin to do that. So they, at the very least, all of our businesses have like they voluntarily sign up to become monthly donors, um, and so that's been good. But we haven't put a strong uh, requirement on it, mainly because we take on that we just take on that burden ourselves.
Yeah, I would expect it to be a mandate, right? I would expect the right businesses with the right culture, the right mindset, the right leadership. You don't need to mandate it; they'll just naturally do it. So I'm glad you're not putting it in a contract, because I think that is not the right path forward. I think the right people will do the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
Let's go over to Jeff.
Well, excuse me, Brandon. What you're doing is phenomenal, and we worked briefly together at United Way, and Brandon did not give up his fitness roots. About the time I found out where all the bathrooms were in my brief stint there, I walked into a little conference room, and Brandon was doing a mini fitness class. People were doing planks and push-ups and things like that. So I'm glad to see he brought that to wherever he goes. And I thought I had a lot of jobs, and I'm a lot older than 31. So thanks, Brandon, for that. You made me feel a lot better. No, I love what you're doing. It's phenomenal. But what's your biggest challenge and needs that people can help you with?
Our biggest challenge, our biggest challenge is at the moment is reach, right? We have talked, our slogan is, if 15,000 people donate $10 a month, and we have around somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 individual donors, and we have started to see more corporate support. Like this fiscal year already, so since May, we've raised around 110, maybe 105,000 from corporations. We have a $200,000 corporate campaign going right now to try to. Well, obviously, we raised 16,000 in corporate money last year, and so it was a huge potential area of growth for us. And so there's always that, but our base is those individuals in Kansas City who are signing up to become monthly donors, and so we need a wider just a wider reach of more people hearing about us, to be able to make that happen and get to that 15,000 donor number. So we've been talking to small businesses, to some corporations about even employee giving campaigns. So just like a lunch and learn of letting your employees know about who we are, what we do, and giving them the opportunity to give. It was one of the things that we learned early on in that first summer of doing it was that by getting on other people's platforms, and so working with those small businesses, that their customer base like their loyal customer base trust their word much more than they trust the word of me, this random person that they don't know, who is talking about, hey, donate your money to me. And so when it became that business advocating for gift versus us making direct ask, we saw a greater increase in the amount of people who were signing up to donate their $10 a month. And so reach in those individual people. Obviously, we had a $200,000 corporate campaign, and so if you guys are at corporations that are able to contribute to that, I'm always open to have a conversation about that. But those individuals, they are what sustains us and they were over half the donations that we got last year. They will likely grow to be over half the donations that we get again this year. And so there is that. Our second challenge kind of goes back into that first one, but it's capacity. We are so we're a 3-person staff, right? I mean, we went from in May being a full volunteer-led organization to now I am full-time. I have a full-time COO, and then we just hired a chief of business development this past summer to really be more hands-on with the businesses, because at year one it was me. I was also not only running the organization and raising the majority of the money, but also being hands-on with all of the businesses. Like they all got my cell phone number, and whenever they need advice or need a connection or are struggling with something, they would call me. And so now we have a chief of business development who can really be available for all of those businesses, be proactive with helping them go out and get their need, identify what they need. But we are growing so fast that we are constantly hitting our capacity. And so we have talked about launching an internship program. And so if even any of you have any advice on bringing on interns, getting interns funded, because if we have enough general operating funds that we could launch an internship program ourselves and pay them ourselves already. But if any of you have any ideas or just better practices or experience, there it is, that's the word, experience, on launching and managing an internship program, that would be super helpful, because it would it helps it helps me grow our fundraising. It would help our COO does all of our marketing. So it will help him grow our reach and our social media presence, and then it help our chief of business development be able to serve more businesses better. We give out 2 grants a month, and so her workload is literally constantly growing. So yeah, is reach, corporate campaign, any experience with internships as we start to brush up against our capacity.
One of the special things about Kansas City, and particularly the business community, is how much the business community likes to help each other. And I know everybody on this call, there's times where people call and they jump in and they do what it takes. How do you build that network around businesses and let them learn how to tap into, I could call an Isaac or a Jeff or a Mike or an Andre and just need, just tap into their advice and their history and their mentorship? Have you thought about how to get them that kind of exposure where they have those networks and support systems around them?
Yeah. One of the other things that we want to do is we want to do a networking event consistently for our businesses. And so one, we're launching a Black business. Actually, let me back up even again. we got, so in year one, we gave out 14 grants. We got 100 grant applications, which means there was 86 people that we were not able to touch, right? And now we're in year two, we're giving out 24 grants, and last month we had 50 grant applications. And so we're probably going to hit somewhere between 200 to 300 applications. And obviously not all of those businesses are at the point where they are ready for grants. Like some of them need some more basic just education, and sitting down and really scoping out their business plan before they even are at a point where they're getting a grant from us. But so last year we were really only able to help those 14. This year we're kind of gearing up to only be able to help these 24. But we want to expand the amount of businesses that we're able to actually serve and be beneficial to. And so we are in that. We've decided to, one, we're launching this back office support program. And so just like every time we give a grant to a business, we give them all of these technical assistance partners. So we give them an accountant, a lawyer, a business coach, a marketing team. And so we're building up a bank of volunteers who are volunteer professionals in one of those 4 areas. So that, that 86 businesses that we were not able to give grants to last year, they could fill out a separate application specifically for technical assistance, identify what their technical assistance needs are, and then we'd be able to pair them with this bank of volunteer professionals. So that's one thing that we're doing to expand the amount of businesses that we're able to help. Another thing that we're doing, so we just got some new office space, some new co-working space, and it has a nice open area that we're basically every month we're gonna do a Black business pop-up shop. And so those businesses that don't have physical locations, that kind of rely on pop-up shops as the lifeblood of their business, we want to give them a consistent place to be able to come and just be able to reach a wide audience. And so we're going to be doing a large amount of promotion for that to make sure that it is a well-attended event, to increase the amount of businesses that we're able to help in that way as well. And so I went back those 2 to 3 steps because we're always looking for ways that we can help the businesses that we're trying to serve beyond grants, because we can only raise so much money, we can only give out so many grants at a time. And so a few of the other things that we want to do are some specific networking events. And so we want to have a networking event that includes all of our businesses, and so all of the businesses that we gave grants to, and all of or some specific curated contacts from our networks, so that when they come in and I'm like, oh man, you should talk to Andre, I can actually have an event where I'm a require Andre to be there, right? but have an event where they can make that connection themselves, and so I don't become a middleman or gatekeeper in building their network. Give them the ability to actively build that network themselves. And then just like we're doing this Black business market for these businesses that specifically are rely on pop-ups. We have some businesses, I mean, there are a lot of businesses that don't operate like that, right? So when we gave a grant to a landscaping company, landscaping company, and she can't set up a booth and cut your yard at the booth, right? And so businesses like that are largely service oriented, having a networking event with larger corporations that they could potentially partner with to take on larger contracts or to be subcontractors or just to make those potential connections. We want to have a curated event like that as well. And so those are 2 different types of networking events that we want to have. But that also goes back to capacity. That falls under the realm of our chief of business development. Obviously, we all jump in and help each other out. But it just goes back to capacity of what we're able to do and what we're able to pull off, what we're able to do well, right? I could put that on the calendar, send out an email to everybody and say, hey, be there. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to show up or that it's going to be a well attended event. And so we really want to make sure we have the capacity to pull it off in a way that's going to be beneficial to the businesses as well as beneficial. If I'm asking Andre to come, I don't want him to show up and feel like he's just wasted his time, just for the sake of showing up. So long way of saying, yes, we have thought about actively trying to find ways to expand the networks of the people that we give grants to, and have some capacity challenges in just executing it.
Well, you're only 1 year in, so I mean, some evolve over time. You won't have everything buttoned down after 12 months. So don't hold yourself to too high a standard. Some stuff takes time,
Yeah, and that's another thing that I constantly have to remember is that we're a relatively new organization, and that we have all of these long-term plans of how to of what we want to do and how we want to do it. And so in time like that will happen. I know that both of those events will happen. It might not be till next summer or next fall, but we'll figure out a way to pull them off.
Awesome. Let's go to Mike.
Brandon, thank you. It's always great to hear about entrepreneurs and the risks that they take and willing to take. And as Isaac said, courage is about being able to say that you were wrong. I was 58 before I started my entrepreneurial business, so you're way ahead of the curve. Well done. Can you give us some examples of the type of businesses that you've helped? Mm-hmm. What markets do they serve?
Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, we've given out 20 grants. So 14 last year, 6 this year already. And then we have 2 more that we'll give out on Saturday. But so our very first grant we gave to Ruby Jeans. So Ruby Jeans, juicery, small little restaurant, really just to help them recover from the economic impacts of COVID. When we opened up our grant application, we gave our first $10,000 grant after that. In our application went to a organization called We Got It Covered Catering. And so small catering business, she had set herself up really well. And like she had a contract with a new restaurant that just opened that had a second kitchen, and basically she was going to be their caterer, and in return they were going to let her run her catering business out of that kitchen as well at no cost. The catch was that she had to furnish it, so she had to put a stove in there, like she had to turn this room into a kitchen, which is kind of a big catch. But we gave her $10,000 to be able to really just do that, and that really helped her business grow debt free to a point where she was able to. I mean, she's really our highest growth business. She created 7 jobs, so she went from just being herself to 7 employees working under her in a year now, because we gave her grant last October. We gave a grant to a moving company. So Dash Delivery and Trucking was one that we recently gave a grant to. And so it's not technically a moving company. It is, everything that you need a friend with a truck for, if you don't have a friend with a truck. So like small lumber run, if I'm going to Lowe's a lot to pick up lumber, or if I got a few chairs for this event. And so she was just it was just her and her truck, and she was at capacity with the amount of jobs that she could take, because it was just her and her truck. I mean, she was literally driving the truck, loading it, unloading it, and all of that. So we gave her $25,000. She hired two young men straight out of high school, and she bought a smaller van, for that she called a sprinter van, for her to do smaller runs. And so it allowed her to be able to take on more jobs. She the jobs that she could already take on, she can do them more efficiently now, because she actually has help with loading and unloading. And it just increased her capacity. She has some contracts that people that she couldn't take. She has some contracts on the table that she couldn't take because she was already at her capacity. And this allowed her to be able to take those contracts. We gave a grant, a $25,000 grant, to a place called Ophelia's Blue Vine Urban Farm, and so it's on 24th and Vine. If you go there, it's a greenhouse. It's like a greenhouse in the middle of the street. Is kind of cool. But he grows, tomatoes and herbs and spice, so basil and cilantro and a lot of stuff, out of his greenhouse. And so we gave him a grant. And he also has beds. He has other, like, just beds around the city where he grows stuff in as well. And so we gave him a grant for two things. One, a new heater, a new stove type thing in that greenhouse, to be able to better control the temperature, so he can grow consistently all year round. So he can increase his production amounts. And then he also got a small trailer to be able to be more efficient at working at all of his other beds around the city. And so, the thing I love about this Ophelia's Blue Vine story is that that helped him in capacity. As you can probably tell, like, we are really focused on giving grants to a business that has a specific need, that they can really show this will help their business grow, because we don't give out more than one grant to the same business. So they really have to be able to show that they're going to use this money in a way that's going to help their business grow, so that they will bring in considerably more revenue in the future. But the thing about Mike, at Ophelia's Blue Vine, was that like his financials for his business were not the greatest, and the accountant that we gave to him really helped to, like, clean up his financials completely. The marketing team that we gave to him built him a website. They created the labels for his packaging. And because at first he only had a Facebook page that you could, like, message him and order for. Now he has a website where you can go and order. And when we recently were contacted by Hy-Vee, because Hy-Vee heard about what we were doing, and they wanted to know more about the businesses that we were helping. And the short version is that we brokered a deal with Hy-Vee to get Mike, so Ophelia's Blue Vine's herbs and spices into Hy-Vee stores. And so right now he's in 9 Hy-Vee stores. They have a plan to get him into all 20. And because of the grant that we gave him to increase his production, he's able to meet their demand. And because of all of the other services that we gave him, I mean, he was ready with labeling, he was ready with packaging, he was ready with his website so that they could easily order. And so he has the, like, in the next 6 to 12 months, and his business is gonna grow like exponentially. He's went from just being himself to having 3 employees under him already. As he continues to expand, he's about to hire another person just to be able to make the deliveries to Hy-Vee. So yeah, those are a few.
Excellent. Thank you.
No problem.
You started talking about something that Angie's interested in when you talked about how you pick. Let's go to Angie.
I was just curious when you were awarding your grants, like what are the disqualifying factors or what are the priorities that you were looking for in terms of the selection process? You had mentioned, I think 86 you had to deny. What were the factors there that you had to consider?
Yeah, so one, we want the business to be majority Black owned. We want it to be in our target area, and so our target area goes from 9th Street to 95th Street, then Truce to Hardesty. So it's a wide range. We actually have expanded it. So in year 2, we've expanded it a little bit further south in the South Kansas City, and a little bit further east into Raytown. And so we look in that target area. And then even like that, there's a whole scale with just target area. Like, are they physically located in the target area? Do they, predominantly just operate in the target area, and all of that? Then they have to have a clear plan for how they plan on using the money. So whether it's $10,000, $25,000, or $50,000, they have to have a clear plan for how they plan on using it, and how they will turn that or execute that plan in a way that will create jobs either immediately or be able to communicate their connect this to their long-term plan of job creation. And so it also has to be a business that has a high propensity for job creation, right? So we've gotten a few applications from photographers, and so while those applications have been good like they've hit good points on our other criteria, they're always going to have a lower propensity for job creation, because the nature of being a photographer. So there's that. Then we have a 4-tier system where we rank them based off of community impact and consumer habits, right? So tier 1 are businesses that provide essential goods and services. So if you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so food, gas, clothing, stuff like that. And then tier 2 is where we see businesses related to health. Goodness, what is the word? Oh my God. Skilled labor. So skilled labor. So workforce development. I'm blanking. So and childcare is also in tier 2. But then all the way down to tier 4 is where we see businesses that are more focused or they rely on discretionary. They rely higher on discretionary income, and so if we get a small convenience store, that's a tier 1 business for us, especially if it's in an area that doesn't have a lot of access to other food. And if we get a luxury spa, that's a tier 4 business for us, because it's a business that relies heavily on discretionary income. And so we look at, is it in our target area? Does it have a high propensity of job creation? Is it more essential, or is it a business that is more of a commodity, relies on discretionary income? and then what is their clear, concise plan for job creation, or their clear, concise plan for what they will do with the money to help grow their business, and is it well communicated? And so we actually have a 3-step process. So we have a grant committee where our grant committee looks at their grant application and scores it. And then, so like this past month, we had 50 applicants. So they looked at they looked at all 50 of those applications, scored them. They sent the whole board the top 15. And then at our board meeting, we discussed all 15 of those grant applications. And this Saturday coming up, we're bringing in, I want to say 7 of them for virtual in-person interviews to dive deeper. So there's that first grant committee overview, and then the whole board, and then in-person interviews. And so we do that. We repeat every month. We do that process.
I think Travis, a great question. A lot of businesses are struggling with here. You there, Travis?
Travis, you muted.
There we go. How about that?
Yep.
Hey, be careful. Angie's dog's going to about to tear her leg off over there. So, that dog's Piper. She's crazy. Anyway, yeah, so great presentation. I really appreciate what you're doing. Are your businesses struggling to find good employees that are reliable, dedicated employees?
Yes, they are. Our businesses are struggling to find employees in general. I've gotten a few calls from our businesses recently about trying to help them find employees. We recently talked to Clyde McQueen over at the Full Employment Council about trying to create a program with them to help get some employees there. It's just, as you know, I mean, I talked to the head of Bank of America the other day, Bank of America Kansas City the other day, and they were talking about how they were struggling finding employees. I think so. Just like every other business right now is struggling to find reliable, consistent employees, our businesses are also struggling with that as well.
Are they looking for help from you for that, or?
I mean, so yeah, sometimes they turn to us for help, but it's not really what we do. And so we try to help any way we can. So if they turn to us for that, we'll figure out. We will actively try to figure out something that we can do. But again, it goes back to our capacity. We're really limited in how we can help them find employees.
I'm going to send you an email. I've got some information for you. So
cool.
Maybe we can try and connect at some point. Thank you very much.
Yeah. That'd be, because if you can help us solve that problem, or at least make a dent in it, that would be great.
Yeah, you bet.
Well, Brandon, you started off talking about people finding a job that fulfills their purpose and they know they make a difference. And I think you found one. So this is, there's no doubt you're making a difference 1 year in, and it's hard to imagine what this looks like 10 years from now and 20 years from now, when you think about all that could be done each year just to keep duplicating what you've done here in the first year, and the impact that'll have on folks' lives. It's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. We are, just trying to be out there doing something, and hope that 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, we're able to see and point to a lot of tangible change that we've been able to be, some of the drivers of.
Yeah, I think you're doing things that every community in America can copy off of and emulate and take some lessons from. That what you're doing there can can happen in Lewisburg and Salina, and any little town you go to could follow your model and help reinvest in itself. So it's awesome work. Happy to see what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me on to just talk about it. Love to talk about what we're doing and the impact that we're trying to make.
Yeah, so I'll put it there in the comments if anybody needs it, kansascitygift.org, and I'll put Brandon's email in there as well if you need to reach out to him. And just looking forward to see how this thing's, Brandon, and what we'll check another year and see what it looks like.
Yeah, thank you. And if any of you guys have questions for me, afterwards, feel free to reach out. I have a strong policy of if you reach out to me, you wanna chat, I meet. It's that simple. If somebody wants to meet with me, I figure out a way to make it happen.
All right, keep up the great work, sir, and we'll all keep looking out for ways to help each other.
Cool. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, everybody have a good weekend.